Hey wine lovers, welcome back to Winometer Weekly Wine News. It's March 21st, 2025, and we're your go-to podcast for all things wine served with a side of fun and just a splash of sass. I'm Amy.
And I'm Chris. And if you haven't already, hit that follow, subscribe, and share button. Help us spread the wine gospel because good wine news deserves a good audience.
Today, we're talking the best budget-friendly white wines under $10, the latest on the absolute mess of Trump's proposed tariffs that could make our wine stupidly expensive, and a couple going viral for taking their baby on wine walks. Because, I guess, why not? Plus, we've got a spicy DM about bringing your own bottle to a restaurant. Let's dive in.
Let's start with some branding news. Fast Company just reported that Yellowtail, the famous budget Aussie wine with the kangaroo, is rebranding to appeal to Gen Z.
Yep, they're ditching the old-school label for something fresher, brighter, and more social media friendly. Apparently, they're trying to connect with younger drinkers who want their wine to pop, literally and visually.
That tracks. Gen Z drinks way less than previous generations, and when they do, they want the bottle to look good on Instagram. If the label isn't aesthetically pleasing, forget it.
Right? It's not just about taste anymore, it's about vibe. And Yellowtail is leaning hard into that. They even updated their website with more playful language, emojis, and bright colors.
I mean, I get it. But at the end of the day, is anyone really buying Yellowtail for the branding?
Fair question. But hey, if slapping a sleek new logo on a bottle gets more people into wine, I'm not mad about it.
All right, let's rip off this Band-Aid. Trump is out here again, threatening massive tariffs on European wines. And it's not just champagne this time. This could slam California winemakers too. It's basically a full-on wine war.
Yeah, so here's what's happening. The proposed tariffs would slap a 25% increase on European imports. That means your favorite bottles of French Bordeaux, Italian Barolo, Spanish Rioja, all getting way more expensive.
And if you think that's bad, wait for part 2, retaliation. If Europe responds with counter tariffs, California winemakers, especially those exporting to the EU, are about to feel the pain. Think about Napa producers who depend on European buyers. They'll get hit with new taxes on their bottles, making them harder to sell abroad.
And it's not just producers. Distributors, retailers, restaurants, and wine bars will have to adjust. Some sommeliers are already freaking out, trying to lock in their pricing before this goes into effect. If you've got a wine bar that relies on European wines, suddenly, your entire inventory gets way pricier.
Not to mention the trickle-down effect. Higher costs mean consumers might start drinking less wine, which means a drop in sales across the industry. It's like setting fire to a vineyard and watching everything go up in flames.
So what do we do? First off, if you love old world wines, maybe start stocking up now before these prices skyrocket. If you have a favorite Burgundy or Brunello, this might be your last chance to grab it at a decent price.
And second, consider exploring alternative regions. Argentina, South Africa, and Portugal aren't caught in the tariff chaos, and they're producing some incredible wines that deserve more attention. Honestly, this could be a moment for lesser-known regions to shine. And I've already seen the effects creeping in. I went to Whole Foods the other day to grab a bottle of Sancerre, and guess what? Empty shelf. All gone. The guy working there just sighed and said, "Yeah, everyone's panic buying before prices go up."
Oof, that's rough.
And it's not just French wines. Italian prices are skyrocketing too. That $25 Barbera I used to grab? Try $60 now. I literally stood there staring at the price tag like it was some kind of sick joke. And forget Brunello. At these prices, I might as well start financing my wine like a car loan. If all else fails, I'm hoarding cases of Chateauneuf du Pape in a bunker. If you need me, bring a corkscrew.
In the meantime, try to buy local when you can.
Yeah, I actually lucked out. I found a Santa Barbara Pinot from Au Bon Climat for under $30, not a bad backup plan.
All right, let's cleanse the palate with something more uplifting. And this is very timely given what we just talked about. Forbes just dropped a list of the best white wines under $10. And surprisingly, some of these slap.
I'm always skeptical about great wines under $10. But I've got to admit, some of these are solid, like that crisp, citrusy Gazella Vinho Verde from Portugal. Absolutely perfect for warm weather.
Also, shout out to Pine Ridge Chenin Blanc plus Viognier. It blends the brightness of Chenin Blanc with the aromatics of Viognier, and it's consistently under $10.
If you love a Sauvignon Blanc but don't want to pay New Zealand prices, Pacific Rim Sweet Riesling is a sleeper hit. It's off-dry, so if you like a little hint of sweetness without full-on sugar overload, this is a steal.
Oh, one of my all-time favorites, Bogle Chardonnay. Rich, buttery, and a ridiculous value. If you love a creamy chard that doesn't taste cheap, this is your go-to.
See? Affordable doesn't have to mean bad. You just gotta know what to look for.
All right, let's get a little sciencey for a second because Decanter just dropped a fascinating story about how hunger affects your sense of smell. Apparently, we're way more sensitive to certain aromas when we're hungry.
This explains so much. Like why walking past a bakery on an empty stomach feels like a religious experience, but after a big meal, you barely notice the smell of fresh bread.
Yep. According to wine expert Victoria Moore, this is actually a thing with wine too. Your hunger level changes how you perceive aromas. Meaning, a wine that smells amazing when you're starving might come across completely different after dinner.
So basically, if you're doing a wine tasting, the best time to do it is before you eat, when your senses are sharpest. Which means, technically, wine flights before dinner are now scientifically justified.
I love a good science-backed excuse for drinking wine earlier, but this also means that if you're pairing food and wine, you might want to sniff that glass before you start eating, because your first impression of the aromas could shift by the time you're halfway through your meal.
It also explains why some wines, like bold, structured reds, seem a little too aggressive if you drink them on an empty stomach. But after a few bites of food, boom, suddenly they're smoother and better integrated.
So if you've ever thought a wine smelled completely different at the start of a meal versus the end, you're not crazy. Your brain is just wired that way.
Also, reminder, if a wine smells off when you first open it, give it a few minutes. Either your hunger is playing tricks on you, or the wine just needs some air. Either way, patience usually wins.
Bottom line, if you want to experience a wine's aromas at their absolute peak, try sniffing before dinner. And maybe don't judge a wine too harshly if you've just eaten half a charcuterie board. Quick break to talk about something that might just change your life, or at least your work setup. Ever dream of working remotely from a vineyard in Tuscany or a beach in Thailand?
If so, you need to check out the Digital Nomad Bootcamp online course. It's your ultimate guide to landing remote jobs, setting up passive income, and navigating the digital nomad lifestyle without the trial and error struggle.
This course covers everything: how to find legit remote work, deal with international taxes, and pick Wi-Fi friendly destinations. Basically, all the things we wish we knew before trying to work from a sketchy hostel.
Trust me, nothing humbles you faster than taking a Zoom call in a coffee shop where an espresso machine drowns out every word you say. Avoid those rookie mistakes and get set up for success.
Go to digitalnomadbootcamp.school to start your remote work journey today. Again, that's digitalnomadbootcamp.school, because your next office should not be a cramped cubicle. Okay, we have to talk about this story. A couple went viral for taking their baby on what they call wine walks, strolling their neighborhood with a glass of wine in hand.
And of course, the internet lost its mind. Half the people were like, "This is the most wholesome thing ever," and the other half were clutching their pearls like these people were shotgunning tequila in a daycare.
Honestly, this is the most European thing ever. In France, you'll see parents sipping rosé at a cafe while their kid plays nearby, and no one bats an eye.
But because it's happening in the US, people are treating it like a scandal. One person on Twitter called it "mommy wine culture gone too far," while another said it was goals. Personally, I think if you can sip and stroll without spilling, that's a parenting skill right there.
And let's be real, parenting is stressful. If a glass of wine and a walk helps you unwind and get fresh air, seems like a win to me.
Now, if you're turning it into a full-blown bar crawl with a baby Bjorn, we're gonna have to call the traffic cops. But a casual neighborhood stroll with a glass of Pinot, I'm team who cares.
Same. And if this trend really takes off, I fully expect to see luxury baby strollers with built-in wine holders by next year. Mark my words. Also, Chris, time for a huge shout-out to Andrew Hurley, wine director at Guy Savoy Las Vegas, who just hit a massive milestone. Over 276,000 subscribers on YouTube. And yes, he got that shiny YouTube Creator Award.
If you haven't seen his content, you're missing out. His POV shots of opening and preparing wine, hypnotic. It's like watching a masterclass in service, but also weirdly calming, kind of like wine ASMR.
Seriously, If you love watching the true magic of being a somm with flawless decanting, expert wine service, and the kind of knowledge that elevates every pour, go subscribe to Vegas Wine on YouTube. It is so top tier.
And while you're at it, check out our channel at WinoMeter. We just dropped a hilarious video on wine pairings for breakups. Because sometimes the best way to move on is with a bold Malbec and zero regrets.
That video is so much fun. But congrats again to Andrew Hurley. Keep those amazing wine videos coming. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Vegas Wine on YouTube. Just don't blame us when you lose an hour watching his decanting videos. Okay. Now this week's DM comes from our Instagram account at wine.o.meter. Is it okay to bring your own bottle to a restaurant?
Short answer, yes, but with some ground rules. First, always check the restaurant's corkage fee, which is usually around $50 at a nice place. That's important because restaurants make their money on wine sales, so bringing your own means they're losing out, hence the fee.
And that fee covers more than just opening the bottle. It accounts for service, proper glassware, and even decanting if needed. So make it worth it. A good rule of thumb? Bring a bottle that would cost at least 3 times the corkage fee if you bought it off the menu. That means if corkage is $50, don't bring a $20 bottle. It's just not a good look.
Also, don't bring something they already have on their wine list. That's like bringing a sandwich to a restaurant.
And a pro tip? Offer the sommelier a taste. It's a classy move, shows respect, and might even get you some VIP treatment.
Plus, bringing a great bottle on a date, that's low-key flexing right there. Just don't turn it into a full TED Talk on tannins.
All right, let's wrap things up with some outdoor wine pairings, because picnic season is here, and we need to drink accordingly.
Whether it's a park picnic, a backyard barbecue, or even a casual softball game, there's a perfect wine for every occasion. And spoiler, it's not the bottle rolling around in the trunk of your car from last summer.
That's oddly specific. All right, I'll start with picnics. You want something light, crisp, and easy to drink. Nothing too high in alcohol because, let's be honest, you don't want to be that person falling asleep on the picnic blanket at 3 p.m.
I mean, unless it's a strategic nap. But yeah, Pet Nat or Vinho Verde is perfect. Slightly fizzy, super refreshing, and it pairs with literally any picnic food. From cheese and charcuterie to that sad prepackaged sandwich you panic bought at the grocery store.
And if you're grilling, Zinfandel is a classic for barbecue. It's bold enough to handle smoky, saucy ribs, but still smooth enough to sip while you argue over who gets the last burger.
Got a softball game tailgate? Canned rosé like Underwood. It's portable, no glass allowed at the field. And let's be real, rosé slaps when you're cheering for your friend who insisted they used to be really good at softball, but is now struggling to make contact.
Oof. This is sounding like a rather personal experience there, Chris.
I mean, maybe. Moral of the story? Match your wine to your vibe. If it's casual, go crisp and light. If there's barbecue involved, bring the bold stuff. And if you're day drinking at a softball game, cans are king.
Now, if only we could get stadiums to start serving good wine instead of overpriced mystery house blends.
Yeah, I'm not paying $18 for ballpark Malbec ever again. That was a mistake.
That's it for this week. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share. It helps us keep the wine news flowing.
And if you're loving the podcast, leave us a review. It seriously means the world.
Catch you next week for more wine news, hot takes, and questionable Chris opinions.
Hey, my takes are solid.
Debatable. See you next Friday, wine lovers.
WinoMeter Weekly Wine News is a DCG Arts production.
What if I knew a way for you to work remotely on a beach in Thailand, a rooftop in Barcelona, or a cafe in Paris? Visit digitalnomadbootcamp.school to learn how to land remote jobs, qualify in another country as a digital nomad, and use AI to work less while earning more. This streamlined course is perfect for content creators, entrepreneurs, and freelancers. Remote work and financial freedom is one click away. Visit digitalnomadbootcamp.school to enroll today.